Hey everybody, I know it's a little unconventional, but I thought that part of my presentation would be an introduction to the owner of the company. I'd like you to meet Gordon Bruner, who is somebody I've worked with for a very long time, have a wonderful friendship with. We've been through a lot together, including him being the best man at my wedding. I appreciate that sacrifice. To get to it, I thought I could either tell you the story or you could hear it from one of the best storytellers I've ever known, who actually founded the company. So, Gordon, why don't you tell everybody what happened in 1998, and then kind of take us through the progression, and I'll add it if I feel like you left something out. How about that?
That sounds good.
Okay.
So in 1998, I had a vending company. I did a couple other things in my life. We don't have to get into all those details, but in the process of having this vending company, I ended up at Whirlpool's call center over here off of Peters Road, and the guy that was over the facility that helped me get in the building found out that I could do carpentry work. And I was poor as a child. We were poor, so when you're poor, you learn how to do everything. You learn how to plumb, and you don't call a plumber. You figure out how to fix it yourself. But anyway, in the process of that, and I'd had some Little Caesars pizzas, and I had built my own pizza stores, and long story short, he found out I could do that, and he'd asked me if I could do his maintenance work. That he needs somebody to do maintenance work. And I didn't want to do it. I said no. And he asked me again. I said no again. And he asked me again. I said no again. And then finally one day I said, well, what do you got to have? And he goes, well, you got this $1 million worth of insurance. I said, well, I ain't going to go get $1 million worth of insurance to tie doorknobs. It's ridiculous. And then he just wouldn't let up. He finally wore me down. I'm like, fine. So I called. It was like $45 a month. So I got the insurance. And for $1,500 in a used pickup truck, I went into the maintenance business with a friend of mine. And it was just to make beer money. That was my whole selling point to this friend of mine was, hey, we can do it on the weekends and nights, we'll make some beer money. It sounds like a damn plan. So we went into the beer money business, and of course I tend to overachieve at things that I do, so I kind of liked what I did and ended up working for Knoxville Utility Board, several other local places. Did residential for about 15 minutes. Decided that wasn't anything I wanted to be involved in anymore. It's too damn hard. But, so I started talking to people, sitting at the bar at Ruby Tuesdays. It had just opened in Fountain City, and found out about this guy named Danny Koontz who was over the facilities, and I thought, well, you know, go down and see him. And called him up, went and visited him, told him I didn't have anything to offer him. My hat in my hand and my word that I'd go do the best I could, and I started a very long relationship with Ruby's and kind of fell in love with the restaurant piece of it. So I started hitting up other restaurants, and I liked the idea of the national chain restaurants as opposed to the mom and pops. And in the early 90s, that was big business. So I started calling Chili's because they had 2 locations, so I'm thinking to myself, damn, if we could get those 2 plus all these Ruby Tuesdays, we're going to be like out of control. So I started calling their corporate office, and they didn't actually have a facility manager at the time. And this poor guy, I called him every day. And he got so sick of me calling him, it was ridiculous, but I wasn't going to give up till I got to do some work for Chili's. So one day I get a phone call from this guy named Dan Gibbons, who goes, I'm the new facility manager, and my boss told me if I didn't call you, I was fired, to get you off of his back. So he agreed to meet me in Chattanooga, so I'm thinking as I'm driving down to Chattanooga, holy crap, we're growing like a weed. Man, I work in Chattanooga, who knew? So we meet this Dan guy, and we talk to him. After a couple of hours, he throws this book on the table. He goes, that's everything I got to do in 10 states, and I'm 6 months behind. When can you leave? And I went, in the morning. And I did for 10 years. Lived out of a suitcase, was a vampire, worked nights, slept daytime, and ran the entire company by myself. I was the accountant, the estimator, the accounts receivable, accounts payable, did the payroll taxes. It was just insane. It was crazy as hell. I lived on 2-hour naps for 10 years, but you know, it grew. It grew in spite of itself. Learned a lot of hard lessons. Decided at one point that I needed to figure out how to run a company. So I started buying all these books on tape and listening to them when I was driving up and down the road. And then, lo and behold, I walked into my bank one day and they said, you need to be in private wealth management. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, you need to want to be one of our private banking customers. So they sent me to see this guy. So I show up, and here's this guy in this suit, sitting at the end of this really long conference table in this dark room with all this rich paneling, and I just looked at him and I said, I don't even know why the hell I'm here. I don't even know what private wealth management is. So we kind of struck up a friendship based on a bet. We had a bet on who could lose some weight the fastest, because it's one of my life struggles, up and down, like a damn yo-yo. But at the time, I lost the bet for $100, paid up to Phil, and Phil started being my advisor. Not too long after that, he actually left damn South Bank, but he continued to be my advisor. And as my company grew, and he's kind of grew along with it. It's been a great friendship. It's been a great business partnership. Probably one of the smartest people I know. He's got more degrees than a show dog. I actually got to tell that story in Los Angeles not too long ago, and I'll get around to that in a minute. But through the trials and tribulations, we got up to doing some really good business. We were way up in the millions. Who knew, right? Dumbass didn't even finish high school to go out here and do this on his own. And got way up in the millions, and the world went to hell in 2007. And we found out what real pain was. But we lived through the pain.
Now, we hit an all-time goal of $11.4 million in '07, and we fell off $5 million the next year.
Yeah, that's what I mean by it. We learned what pain was. We've had that cycle in this business. It's kind of a crazy business. We've up and down. We keep having record years and staffing up to grow more, and then something pops up and the bottom falls out of it again. And a lot of that's just economy driven. Since we don't do any new construction, we focus primarily on large remodel programs. But when we do, we'll do 100 of a particular company's brand over a year or two period, and we may have 3 or 4 or 5 of those going on at a time. Got into the hotel industry based on some information I got from Harry Dent. He's a freelance economist. Went and saw him out in Las Vegas. He got to talking about it, and it kind of intrigued me. So we focused some of our energy over into the hotel piece, because the big national chain restaurants that we work on, they're struggling, and they're going to have a few tough years ahead of them as the younger people grow, the millennials. And millennials don't go to Chili's or Red Lobster. Hell, Red Lobster's entire customer base is dying off. So I don't think anybody goes to Red Lobster. It's under 50. So, they're going to lose their entire thing. So all your really big chains are trying to reinvent them own selves. But, that was a need to expand into some other industries. But I'll tell you, in the beginning, I bought a book back from a guy named Michael Gerber. It's called The E-Myth, and I'm sure anybody that's in business has been exposed to Michael Gerber and the E-Myth. And it really helped me understand how to run a business. It kind of breaks it down into the lowest denominator and the need to get out of the basement of my house. And we, in the early years, bought a building, set up an office, became a real company, put in policy and procedure and all the things that he teaches, and Phil was just monumental in those pieces.
We outgrew a lot of people, didn't we?
We outgrew everybody that's ever worked for us but you. It's the only ones left.
And I try to stay in fighting shape. So.
People just tend to have a ceiling.
Yep.
And we kept maxing them out and pretty quick sometimes.
But we have a very talented team today.
We do have a very talented team. It took a long time to build that team, and you go through a lot of people to get to that point. And some of it are mistakes that you make that you actually know better, but you do stupid shit anyway. You go out and hire people out of necessity instead of actually trying to find the right people to fit. Or, sometimes payrolls will limit. But I've learned that you're better off to pay people more money and get good people than you are to waste a whole bunch of money on bad people.
Why don't you tell them a little bit about your brushes with fame that you always keep doing, about your book and some of the people you've met?
I got Phil actually bought us this thing called the 100-Day Challenge from a guy named Gary Ryan Blair. So we did the 100-Day Challenge, and I really enjoyed it. It was good. So every day for 100 days you get this little video, and it teaches you something or inspires you, or makes you just want to get out and try harder. And so I went to one of his seminars down in Florida, met the guy, bought a little personal coaching from him, and we actually ended up being really good friends. He's one of my best friends. He sends me everything he does before he publishes. He sends it and goes, "What do you think, Gene?" I'm like, "Well, it's too long." But anyway, really great friendship, good guy. I've got him a couple of gigs with some associations I belong to, and in the process of that, I wrote my own book. well, I dictated it to a recorder and Christy wrote it, but still my ideas, and a lot of that's just information based off of what I learned all those years driving up and down the road listening to everybody else's books, and most of it's common sense. Funny story, my recent adventure, and I was sitting at a bar at the Hilton Hotel at the
First
Dallas
time you've
Center.
ever been to a bar?
First time I've ever been to a bar. Actually, I've met most of my people at bars at some point or another, but so I'm sitting at the bar and this great big guy comes walking across the lobby and he sits down beside me, and I made some comment about him, glad I didn't have to feed him when he was a kid, and we start talking, and in a few minutes I'm a member of the Patriot Mission. It's a bunch of retired Air Force fighter pilots that got together and decided to help make America strong through small business, putting some programs together. And I learned about this movie they were going to make, and got the chance to talk to the CEO of the company, really great guy. And a couple weeks later I got a phone call, and he goes, "We lost our 12th guy, will you be in our movie?" I'm like, "Sure, why not? Sounds like a great idea, I'll be in your movie." So they flew a film crew out to my office, and we did my part, and then I went to Los Angeles, where I met Michael Gerber. Of all things, if you think the world's small, you have no idea, and the opportunities that are out there every day, if you just let them happen or say yes. I like to call it pounce. Pounce on every opportunity, because you always back out later.
Right.
But if you let it go by while you're sitting there and thinking about it, you may never get that opportunity again. So through my pounce method, which is, like I said, within 5 minutes of meeting this guy, I'm a member of the Patriot Mission.
Sure.
So I got to go out to meet Michael Gerber. I actually got to get on stage and introduce Michael Gerber for his part of the movie, because they actually are making part of that event. Will be part of this movie that's going to come out, and I'm sure Phil will fill you in with the details as we get all that worked out. But it will actually show in Knoxville. Basically, we've got a lot of really big names. We got Larry Schweikert, Fox News contributor, history professor, written tons of books, made several movies. As a matter of fact, when I was on stage introducing Michael Gerber, I had mentioned Phil, my CEO, that I needed a brain in my operation, and Phil had more degrees than a show dog. And Larry Schweikert actually sent me an email the next day and goes, "What was that you said about your CEO?" Because that's a
So, Gordon, you were talking about some of the things you're doing with your hero, Michael Gerber.
Yeah, one of the funny things was I actually spent some time with Michael the last day. I had dinner at his table and sat beside him. And this is pretty cool. It's very humbling, but it's very cool. Is he came to me and said, "I've got this project that I want to do, and after getting to know you, yada, 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 I'd like for you to help me do it." So I go from being the student to the teacher's apprentice.
That's great.
I mean, it's just, and like I said, it's just kind of the way my life goes. I just wander into all this crazy stuff because I never say no. I don't pass up opportunities to do interesting, different, new things.
If you don't mind bragging a little bit, there's been some awards along the way, including a great one last year. Why don't you brag on yourself a bit?
Well, I don't know that I really earned the awards. I just give them to you because you need them. But I've been fortunate enough in one of the associations that we belong to. I've been vendor of the year. We were vendor of the year for Brinker one year.
Yeah.
They flew us out to Texas and fed us a big dinner and put us up on stage and gave us a big award.
Yeah.
And we got an award from Logan's Roadhouse. I've had the opportunity to be on the board of directors, and now I'm on the advisory board for RIFMA, the Restaurant Facility Managers Association. Last year they gave me the MVP award.
It's a Lifetime Achievement
A
Award.
Lifetime Achievement Award, and they had only given out 5 of them in 10 years. So that was very gratifying to get that. That really meant a lot. Had no idea that it was coming. We do a lot of stuff with RIFMA as far as on their charity piece. The RIFMA gives every year. Wherever we have our convention, we find a soup kitchen, a place that helps homeless people or whatever, people that are transitioning homeless people back into society, and people donate time and money and equipment, and I think our most expensive one's been about $500,000 that we just give out of our hearts. And last year, I was the head person, the contractor, as well as the co-chair on the project we did when we did our show in Nashville last year, so.
Is that
We were
was
the number
Murfreesboro?
one, in Murfreesboro, yeah.
Yeah.
We were the number one contributor. So, you know, we got recognition for that. So, you know, over the years, like I said, for just a dumb guy that didn't finish high school, I've led a pretty decent life, and I know that I have to give a lot of that credit to Phil and people that helped me along the way. A few years ago, I kind of went through some personal things in my life, and it was interesting.
Well, go ahead and tell them.
Well, so a few years ago, I got diagnosed with cancer, and you know, that will stop you in your tracks. And you know, tried to keep my optimism up, and so we had to have surgery. They cut a pretty good sized chunk of meat out of me.
Do you mind telling them where?
Well, it was on my butt. I got a scar about that long. You know, but at the end of it, they gave us a PET scan, or gave me a PET scan, and there was no cancer, so I denied all the treatment. I couldn't understand why somebody wanted to treat me for something I didn't have anymore.
Yeah.
It was a tough decision to make, but I thought, you know, I think I'm making the right decision. So this is year 5, no cancer, cancer-free, so I'm going to go with I made the right decision. And the funny thing, my cancer doctor, I'm not going to mention his name, but one of the things that they used to do is take all the lymph nodes out. And he said that since I denied that they had come to the conclusion that taking the lymph nodes out didn't help. So I saved myself a lot of grief dealing with that.
Sure.
But all in all, I've lived a really amazing life, done things that I had no idea I'd ever get to do. I've dined with presidential candidates, had dinner with Herman Cain when he was running for president, had dinner with Rick Perry when he was running for president. Interesting people, like I said, got to do a lot of really cool stuff. Just through my whole thing of just, why not? Let's do it.
So in closing, we'll flip out of business and talk about something else that was a goal of yours, to sing at Tootsie's.
Yes.
And tell them what happened there.
So I decided I wanted to sing at Tootsie's. And I could play a little bit and sing a little bit, but I'd never really gotten on stage and sang in front of anybody. So I went out and bought myself a headset and a microphone stand, and started practicing, learning the right way to, you know, because it's all about how you hold the mic and how close you are, and I didn't want to sound like an idiot. So I practiced till I felt like I was ready, and I literally practiced, put my stuff up, got in my car, drove to Nashville, parked, walked to Tootsie's, walked in and said, I want to sing, and they said, well, get up here. So I climbed up there and I sang, and I've sang at every bar in Nashville since. I bet I've sang at Tootsie's 50 times. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, you just live your life.
Yeah.
No fears, no regrets. There's no need in it. And then, you know, and then one of the things that I write about in my book is I got to fly on a private jet to the Masters one year, and we're sitting around dinner with all these really, really, really rich people. I'm just, you know, I just make a good living. I'm far from rich, but these people were filthy rich, and I decided right then and there that I needed to up my game because these people made me want to work harder. So I came up with my 70-20-10 plan. 70-20-10 plan is 70% of my time I'm going to spend working my butt off.
Sure.
As hard as I can go, because nothing replaces hard work, nothing. 20% of my time I'm going to spend around people that raise my bar. People that make me want to be better. People that make me want to try harder. Because that's important. Because when you're the big dog in the room, and I've had that opportunity a few times, it just really lowers your bar. And I'm going to spend 10% of my time just hanging around with goofy ass people that I love and have a good time with. So I really appreciate the opportunity to get down and tell my story. It's an interesting story, rags to riches. Well, not riches, rags to a good payday, but we've had a lot of damn fun.
You're being modest.
We've had a lot of damn fun along the way.
Yeah.
Yes, we have. Now, a lot of Phil, I don't know how well y'all know Phil, but he's been to Wharton School of Business and Columbia and Emory, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And there's not a complicated question you can ask him that he don't pretty much know the answer to. So I'd just like to say thanks for all your help.
Well, I appreciate you coming off the road. You still spend over 200 days a year out there, and you know, I wanted everybody to get to meet him. You get to see me every month, and it's a rare treat to introduce somebody who's very inspiring to me. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy.